Hello there. So, Top 5 Steam Locomotives 2024. Since last year, my top 5 changed quite a bit. But before we started, this list only consists with British locomotives, and some engines from previous lists still be featured here. Without further ado, let's move on to number 5. I actually want to put this engine in previous lists of top 5, but for some reason I just forgot to do it. So, LSWR 4 and 5 class. I think I don't need to explain why I like this engine. Just look at it and try to tell me that this is not the most elegant looking tank engine that you ever seen. I'm not going to be diving into the history of each locomotives today, but long story short, these engines were built between 1882 and 1885, and they earned the nickname the Adams radial tanks because they have trailing wheels. They were designed by William Adams for passenger work, and there was 71 of them built. The withdrawal took place between 1916 and 1928, and continue in 1961. Wow, long working life. Luckily, there was one surviving member of this class, and that is, of course, number 488 at the Bluebell Railway, or as we all know him, as Adams from the Railway series. So, you never expected that, would you? Yes, the Caledonian Railway 944 class, commonly known as the Pacific Tanks. So, what is the 944 class? Well, it's a class of 462 tank passenger locomotives designed by William Pickersgill, and there was, I think, 12, I'm not sure, 12 were built in 1917 at North British Locomotive Company in Glasgow. And surprisingly, 944 class is the only Caledonian Pacific. Do you realize that? Railway's only Pacific is a tank engine. How can you not like this engine? The class did survive through the Big Four into British Railways, and withdrawal took place between 1946 and 1953, I think. There was a little bit of information about 944 class, I'm sorry. I like this engine because it's unique, very unique indeed, and it's also good looking. Come on guys, this is just have to be in this list. How can you not like the LBSCR L Class? I already talked about this engine in the previous list a year ago. So, long story short, these engines were built between 1914 and 1922 for fast passenger services. They're built by, of course, everyone's favorite Lawson Billington, and they earned the nickname the Brighton Baltics because they are huge tank engines with 464 wheel arrangement. 3 members of the class were giving names. We have 327 Charles C. McRae, 329 Stevenson, named after obviously George Stephenson, and the last member of the class, 333, was named Remembrance in honor of 532 men of the LBSCR who gave their lives for their country. Remembrance is also the last engine built by LBSCR. Between 1934 and 1936, all L classes were rebuilt into tender engines and classified as the N15X, despite the fact that they have nothing to do with actual N15 King Arthur class. After a rebuild, all members of the class were given names. Charles C. McRae became Terrific. The others became Hackworth, Cudworth, Beatty and Stroudley, And Stevenson and Remembrance, well, remained Stevenson and Remembrance. But N15X will never be the same as the gorgeous L Class. Look what we have here. Another engine from the previous list, and at the same spot too. Great Western Railway 2900 Saint Class. So, these engines were designed by George Jackson Churchwood for express passenger work on the Great Western Railway. They're built between 1902 and 1913. First 13 examples were built as an Atlantics, and the rest as a 10-wheelers, but between 1912 and 1913, the first 13 Atlantics were eventually rebuilt into 10-wheelers. The withdrawal took place between 1924 and 1953, and all original Saint Class was scrapped. However, their legacy still lives on in the form of 2999 Lady of Legend. I'm sorry guys, if I don't put this engine in my top 5 again, I would never forgive myself. Yes, the Southern Railway V Schools Class. Do I even need to say something here? The ideal steam locomotive. The most powerful and most successful 440 ever built in this planet. For those who don't know about this truly revolutionary 440, these engines were built between 1930 and 1935. A total of 40 were built, all of them named after English public schools, and they of course survived through the Big Four into British Railways. Withdrawal took place between 1961 and 1962, and 3 members of the class survived today. We have Cheltenham in the National Collection, Repton on North Yorkshire Moors Railway, and finally Stowe on the Bluebell Railway. Despite the fact that there was 40 of them built, it was a truly unique locomotive. How many 440s with Welsh Hertz valve gear? Oh my god, I always call it extra side rods, I don't care. How many 440s with extra side rods do you know? The Schools Class itself is basically a mix between King Arthur and Lord Nelson, and cut down in size. The Schools Class we used the King Arthur's firebox instead of Lord Nelson's Belpaire firebox to achieve more lightweight. And that's it.